We've got the future, and it is coming to you.
Hop into your mech, kick back, wide up, and let's get into some budget sleeper commander cards from Neon Dynasty.
And I hope that your suit does not have a rip in it, because as we start going very fast, you wouldn't want your skin to get sucked out of the suit like at the end of Alien Resurrection. Highest level of gratitude to our patrons who power the channel through Patreon. Check out the Patreon link in the description to learn about monthly giveaways, VIP Discord access, and even our official playmat. Hello and welcome to The Day.
Thank you for spending your future with us.
I'm Jake.
I'm Joel. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic, sponsored by Dragon Shield. Make sure to use our link in the description below to shop the fantastic products at Dragon Shield. Jake, we've got some sick previews happening, and we've got some excellent cards to talk about today that may be a little under everybody's radar.
Yeah, that's right. Instead of focusing on the cards that are mythics and the cards with the most hype around them right now in the set, instead we went around to that $5 and less price range. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video. We're going to talk about 3 legendary creatures that are either going to work well in the 99 or they could be commanders. We picked some cards that we think are going to have some fun commander application, and let's go ahead and get into those right now.
Jake, I have to start this video with Mech Titan Core, a 2-mana 2/4 vehicle that for 5 mana and exiling it and 4 other artifact creatures or vehicles you control, you create Mech Titan, which is a token creature that is a legendary 10/10 with flying, Vigi, trample, lifelink, and haste, and it's all colors. And then when that token gets aced somehow or just leaves the battlefield, you return the other 4 artifact creatures and or vehicles that you exiled. Jake, this vehicle seems really kick-ass.
Yeah, and it might have some commander application like we're talking about, especially with Kotori, which is the new Kotori Pilot Prodigy, which is the new blue-white commander that's going to be in the, I believe it's the Buckle Up Precon. Which is going to be vehicle centric. You know, this is like the first time that we have a commander that's really built around vehicles, which is really fun. But yeah, I think this could have some application, obviously, in constructed formats where you're going to want 4 copies of the card as well. It does seem really fun. It has a low crew. It has a very low mana value. It's got this crazy ability built in. And 5 isn't that unrealistic to get to. It is a little bit restrictive because you do have to exile artifact creatures and or vehicles, but I think that we can definitely get there. This is a really interesting card, and obviously it has all of the keywords on it.
It'll stand to be seen exactly where this one settles, but right now under $5 on the pre-order cost.
Invoke Despair. Yeah, 4 black, 1 other here. Sorcery. Target opponent sacks a creature. If they can't, they lose 2 life and you draw a card. Then repeat this process for an enchantment and a planeswalker. So most likely you're building this into a commander deck that's mono black. It's going to have a lot of trouble answering enchantments after they hit the battlefield. That's the main idea around this card, is that you're trying to answer that enchantment. That's the big reason that this card was included. Feed the Swarm, which is just a way to destroy enchantments, and this is like a common or uncommon that we have to play in Commander just so that black is able to answer enchantments.
Yeah, this is one of a cycle that's in this set, the Invoke cycle, where the color pips are very heavily suited on one color. Like you can see, like Jake said, this is a mono black commander card, or maybe a 2-color deck where
Rakdos.
It is heavily black. You could play this in it, but I like it for the fact that it's Feed the Swarm but bigger. You know, we're finally in black getting some enchantment answer. We've got creature and planeswalker removal, but the fact that as long as they only have 1 enchantment out, if that's a crucial enchantment to them, you can ace it, and black doesn't always have that ability. So I like this one in the cycle.
You will draw cards, and you will, you know, I mean,
if they can't you're drawing cards. Exactly. It's got a little upside if you are missing, you know, at the very least it can replace itself. This one is the white one in the Invoke cycle. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield, then distribute 4+1/+1 counters among any number of creatures and or vehicles target player controls. This, I love that white is starting to sort of lean back into graveyard recursion recursion a little bit. That was an early, theme for the color, and I think it's a nice way to take it now that they get some recursion. Black obviously has a lot, but blue and green can return stuff to your hand, not a ton to the battlefield. And then red doesn't really have much recursion at all. So it's, I think, a really great place for the color pie to land to give white some more viability in Commander.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the card. I think that it's really good. Again, all of these invoke the invoke cycle. It would be hard for me to put it outside of anything that doesn't have like perfect fixing. So like any 2-color deck is where I think that these are going to be well suited. Obviously 1 color is fine.
Yeah.
But once you get outside of that, if you're not running a bunch of ways to, fix all of your mana well, I wouldn't really put it in any of those. Now this one, 4 red, 1 other for an instant. You may cast up to 2 instant and or sorcery spells with total mana value 6 or less from your graveyard and or hand without paying their mana costs. If those spells would be put into your graveyard, exile them instead and then exile this card. It does make sense that it's exiled, and the reason is because this has combo written all over it to me.
Oh yeah.
There's just like a lot of random degenerate things. I can't really place much of it, but just certain cards being in hand and also graveyard, you being able to play this instant speed as well to like get something back.
I do see this card, and this is like that 1 or 2 cards every preview season where I look at it and I go, better deck builder than me, a smarter MTG player than me is going to break the hell out of this card. Last time it really major happened and my alarm bells were going off was that Underworld Breach card. I went, somebody is going to be able to break the hell out of this. And now it's rampant in many, many very competitive formats. And so I feel like it's the same with this one. It is 5 mana. 4 of that 5 mana must be red. So it's a little more restrictive, but instant speed makes it a little pushed in the playable direction for me. And they can be in graveyard or hand. That also makes it a little bit more playable for me as far as a giant red definitely combo spell goes. Hey, if you're watching this video, you probably enjoy Budget Commander, and we have a Commander League that is run through our Patreon every month that is supported by cash prizes and Dragon Shield products. So you should go check out our Patreon if you're enjoying the video. Maybe you want to get involved in the Commander League. Joining at any level makes you eligible to play.
Let's go ahead and get back to the cards. Next up, a card that anybody who has Graveyard Synergy is going to hate, Lion Sash, 1 white and 1 other. For an artifact creature equipment cat, don't worry, we're going to get to it. 1/1. Now, if you play it straight up for 1 white and 1 other, you're going to get a 1/1 that is essentially a cat. That is exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a permanent card, put a 1/1 counter on Lion Sash, and you can do that for 1 white. Now you can equip it. I f***ing hate this card. I hate f***ing explaining this card so much.
For a couple of old fuddy duddies, this card is a little bit difficult to parse, but I promise we're going to get there. If you play this straight up, you have a 2 mana 1/1 that has an ability for 1 white to exile target card from a graveyard. Doesn't have to be sorcery speed, and it doesn't have any restriction on how many times you can activate it. And then if you do activate it and it exiles a permanent card, so anything but an instant or sorcery, you put a +1/+1 counter on Lion Sash. Now,
I promise I know how this card works. I do get it because Joel and I discussed it before the video. I hate that I had to describe it. I really do.
It's all good. You can also,
continue.
with this card, reconfigure, which is basically just equip. You can equip it to a creature. It loses the creature subtype, so at that point it is just an artifact equipment cat. So anything that says destroy target cat can still get it, but anything that says destroy target creature cannot. And it doesn't get killed by board wipes if it's equipped. And the equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each +1/+1 counter on Lion Sash. So the important part here is that in Voltron decks, it's important to play secondary creatures, tertiary creatures that aren't just your Voltron, your main person, because there's a lot of sacrifice effects that exist that can get around your entire protected machine of death. Lion Sash presents an opportunity to either be a creature if you need that, or an equipment if you need that. I also think that this ability is insane in a deck that wants this card, because 1 white to exile target cards from graveyards at instant speed is just nuts as a passive, as an active ability on this thing. I love this direction for equipment
you can
creatures.
Still use that. You can
Right.
still use that ability even when it's equipped to a creature.
Exactly. exactly. But
I mean, it's very good.
I love the fact that it represents both needs in a commander deck that wants cards like this. Here, we also have the other one that we really like is Lizard Blades. This is the same thing as Lion Sash, except it's a double striking 1/1 creature if it's just on the battlefield, and then if it's equipped, it gives a creature double strike. This is notable because Fire Shrieker is played in a lot of decks like this. Fire Shrieker is 3 mana to cast versus the Lizard Blades 2, and Fire Shrieker is 2 to equip, so it's the exact same as Lizard Blades. But Fire Shrieker can't also be a creature with double strike that you attach your like Black Blade Reforged to and have an insane giant double striker, you know? That's why these cards are good in these equipment Voltron-y attacky decks.
It really is good versatility. I like this card as well. It's going to be like a baby Embercleave or like Fire Shrieker like you're talking about. It's just redundancy on this effect. And then, yes, being able to play it as a 1/1 with double strike and then suit that up, whether you're enchanting it, equipping it, pumping it, double strike is always relevant. Double strike is the kind of thing that ends games. It's a very, very powerful ability, and we don't see it on cards very much.
Yeah, I really love that card. Jake, do you want to tell us about, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, but Gonzo Uprising?
Yes. So 1 white, 1 red, and X. Now, we have a group hug card for you today. Sorcery. Create X 2/2 white samurai creature tokens with vigilance. They gain menace and haste until end of turn. Each opponent creates X -1 2/2 white samurai creature tokens with vigilance. So they do not get the menace and haste effect. They get instead a vigilance effect. So obviously, if you're playing this in Commander, I think this could be a blowout card in constructed decks. I'm excited to see what it does in Standard and stuff. But I will say that from a Commander perspective, obviously your opponents are going to be getting a lot more power than you are getting. So this is the kind of card where I would obviously wait for somebody to be dead if you're trying to win with this. But it can be an absolute blowout for you because if you have anthems on the board, if you have ways to pump the team, your opponent is going to have to 2-for-1 block on all of your creatures. So it could absolutely be a kill shot if you play this. You know, if you're running a bunch of mana rocks, definitely in red white, you very well could be.
Yeah.
Then yeah, you can create quite a sizable board state here right out the gate. You could, for example, be holding Blasphemous Act in your hand, create your team, swing out, kill somebody, Blasphemous Act for 1 in the second main phase. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to play this card that I think are interesting. If you're running Repercussion, for example, that old Urza's card, then each of those creatures is going to deal that Blasphemous Act damage to its controller. So I think there's a lot of fun ways that we can play with this card. Yeah, like outside of just, okay, we're going to make a bunch of stuff for everybody, which I think can also be a move in certain situations too.
Sure.
Say everybody's on the ropes, just make a team for everybody right out the gate.
I want to combine this with Eldrazi Monument. All of your samurai come in with +1/+1 flying and indestructible. And then you've got a bunch of vigilance, menacey, hasty, 3/3 flyers that will stay on the battlefield. And then, yeah, you've left chaos in your wake because now everybody's got this huge samurai army, except yours is flying and indestructible. Yeah, I really think that this is a fun card. I don't think this is going to break Commander wide open or anything, but that's what this video is for the budget cards that are just kind of flying under everybody's radar because everybody's so worried about these lands that have uncounterable spells attached to them.
Right. Yeah, this card is very fun. I like it. And now we are at that part of the video that we talked about earlier, where we're going to talk about a few legendary creatures. I'm going to talk about this one, Goro, Disciple of Ryusei. I think is, the dragon, of course. 1 red, 1 other for a 2/2. Now, this has some interesting abilities. 1 red, creatures you control gain haste until end of turn. That is for the team. And then for 2 red and 3 other, create a 5/5 red dragon spirit creature token with flying. Activate only if you control an attacking modified creature. So kind of restrictive to modifications like we've been talking about here. I like this more just because it gives the team haste. This immediately, when I saw it, this spoke to me as a goblin player. Being able for 1 red, you get a big board. The big thing that you don't want to see happen is any kind of board wipe. Making sure to get in with the team before your opponent has the ability to do that is really important. This is a pretty fun card.
I haven't yet started brewing this deck yet, but Godo Bandit Warlord is the commander for mono red for CEDH, and it combos off. You go and get Helm of the Host, and then you're making an infinite number of Godos that are all attacking, and eventually, you know, you just out attack your opponents because your attack step keeps getting duplicated, modified. With Goro, I feel like there's a deck in here somewhere that is mana rock heavy, that is cheap aura, cheap equipment. I think is probably mainly where it would go, like 1 mana equipment that equips for 1, or 1 mana equipment that equips for 0. Those exist, and you're able to attack with Goro, who's been modified somehow. Even equipment, auras, counters. I mean, give Goro a -1/-1 counter. There's got to be a cheap way to do that. However, you can modify him, attack, and then figure out a way make infinite mana as quickly as possible. If you can make infinite red mana, you've got infinite attacking, you know, hasty 5/5 dragons that are ready to go. And so you do have to still wait a turn because Goro has to be attacking. You can only activate this ability if you currently control an attacking modified creature. And so you really have to like dump all the mana in at that one point, and then you got a bunch of 5/5 red flyers that are ready to go the next turn. I think that's mostly how the turns would, you know, kind of fall out. But I do think that this has potential in the 99, 100%. Whether or not it's like combo-y enough to stack a deck full of mana rocks and go wild, making red mana infinite and, you know, attack with a Goro and being able to activate it, that stands to be seen. But I do think it's got some play.
It does have a very low mana value, so you can cast it a lot, and it does have a lot of stuff that you can do. It goes wide just simply by having equipment, auras, and counters. And then, yeah, it has the ability to give the team haste, just all built into one card. So you're probably onto something, Joel, as far as the card being a commander as well. I think that there might be something there.
Yeah, it's got some potential, as does Satsuki, the Living Lore. What you've got here is a Saga commander, y'all. This is pretty cool. As of filming of this video, there are 21 Sagas that are legal to be in a Satsuki deck, meaning they are white or green color identity only. Satsuki has the ability to tap and put a lore counter on each Saga you control as a sorcery speed ability. So you're going to get to move all your Sagas ahead another step without having to wait for a turn to happen. And then if Satsuki dies, when it dies, you get to choose either returning a Saga or enchantment you control to its owner's hand, or return target Saga from your graveyard to your hand. So you can reset a Saga by replaying it from the battlefield to your hand and then back onto the battlefield, or get a Saga that's already expired back in your hand to cast again. We're including this card because it is viable that you could play Saga Tribal Green-White in Commander at this point. This is a Commander that allows it, and there's at least 20 that are legal for the deck. Now, at least 20 means that we are at like bare minimum possibility for this deck. It does not mean that all 20 of those are going to be bomb Sagas that you want to play under every condition.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's the kind of card that I think will get more support over the years as more Sagas are printed. Clearly, Wizards of the Coast has shown us that that's a mechanic that they like to come back to, that's a type of card. It's interesting because it's a type of card that once you've made a mana investment, it just does something each turn, right? So it just continues offering value as the game goes on once you've made that investment in mana, which is very strong. Lastly here, we do have 1 black and 2 other for 3/3, and that is Tatsunari, Toad Rider.
Yeah,
this card is pretty fun, and this is a Sultai commander that we're looking at. This is pretty interesting. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, if you don't control a creature named Kimi, create Kimi, a legendary 3/3 black and green frog creature token with whenever you cast an enchantment spell, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. And then it does have the hybrid blue-green mana and 1 other. Tatsunari Toad Rider, and target frog you control can't be blocked this turn except by creatures with flying or reach. So very interesting card that goes wide by itself, and it is an Enchantment Matters Sultai General. Very interesting card.
Yeah, it's also a commander that's got a built-in Aristocrats ping in it if you can create Kami, Arkimi. And it's kind of great because a lot of the good Aristocrats cards fit really well into a Sultai enchantment shell already. And so if you've got enchantments that are creating tokens that can be sacrificed, and then you're getting your Zulaport Cutthroat or your, Tatsunari triggers when you're casting more enchantment spells, it all just adds up to death by 1,000 paper cuts, and you can win. That's kind of the whole Aristocrat strategy, is create small creatures that die and, slowly drain everybody out over time. I also like that as a secondary, you can try and attack for commander damage with this if you can keep the skies clear or not, or, get around reachers. You can jump over them for 6 damage every time, 3 of it being commander damage with your Tatsunari and your Kimi. I do think this is a very interesting design, and this is kind of where I hope that commander designs keep going, is get specific, give us more options to play colors, like a black deck that matters where enchantments are concerned. That's not a very common design, and something that I'm excited to see.
Yeah, what's also interesting is that green is in the deck, which is going to allow us to get enchantments back from our graveyard. So even if we play a Mire's Grasp on something to give it -3/-3, we're going to be able to get that card back. And then we can make it even more complicated. We can pick a card like Kaya's Ghost Form, for example. We're going to be able to abuse that card as well to get even more value out of it. So this card being a Sultai Enchantments Matters general is very fun from the new Kamigawa set.
Very exciting. Those are our budget commander picks for Neon Dynasty. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you see when we post every video about Neon Dynasty. We got a lot of cool ones coming, including where we talk about the commander cards that aren't budget, because there's some cool ones there too.
That's right. Let us know in the comments what your favorite commander card is so far from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. We have some more previews coming up, and we have some more videos to cover. Oh man. You better sharpen your blades.
Sharpen your blades, warriors. We are to war.
You couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, it was kind of good. I don't know what "we are to war" means.
No one does. Who knows how words are made?